The arrangement of matter and antimatter in balance is nothing. The perfect nothing, subject only to chaos. The big nothing may be visualized as a series of infinite circular disks made of concentric onion rings. A potential chaotic anomaly is at the infinitely small center of each set of rings, where a potential subatomic particle exists for a moment. The centers do not align. The possibility of imbalance to exist when two or more centers aligned was almost impossible, as each center was exceedingly small and an infinity away from the neighboring ring center. Chaos does not allow balance of matter or antimatter, even in nothing. At the center of each set of rings there was a potential for two particles that would form matter in a reality and two that would be the antimatter balance to them. And the rule of endless impossibilities are possible in chaos. All was well in the big nothing dimension, until the potential centers of neighboring disks aligned, as is inevitable in chaos. The few-minute potential particles at the centers of the now aligned neighboring disks interact. This was a significant force in the nothing dimension. Their interaction caused a critical imbalance in their respective disks of nothing. This was manifested as something. Energy effect that could not exist in the big nothing. It could only exist in a separate reality. It is possible to get something from nothing. An electromagnetic particle field came into existence in the extreme cold of the created space. The imbalance can only exist in a reality, a membrane with laws that are apart from the big nothing. In a dimension. The reality tear in the big nothing existed as the 10th dimension and came into existence. Information now existed in the membrane, with laws. The string circles in the two disks had broken and the string particles released were instantly everywhere in the new 10th dimension membrane of reality. Each ring was a family of strings and would always know where its component particle parts were. A new reality membrane had been totally formed in that instant. It was no longer a ring of nothing at rest in the big nothing. The singularity exploded as an event horizon. While most matter and antimatter string particles reformed their circles and returned to the big nothing, the fact that they had existed had created the 10th dimension reality and a universe now existed. Something had been created from nothing. The big nothing remains as an influence on reality and provides a continuing external and influential force. String bit families were made from each broken string circle. The broken bits filled the whole universe in that instant and were the building blocks of matter. They evolved into subatomic particles due to the electromagnetic forces that now existed. They would always be aware of the presence and position of the other string bits that made up the specific and unique string circle they had originated from. Reality is energy driven by the power potential and is always trying to recreate the balance that is nothing. The big nothing is an infinite source of potential energy to drive a reality in a universe. Any reality that is newly created is separate from any other existing reality. The string bits are made up of positive matter and antimatter. In balance they are nothing. They exist because they were disturbed and are now in imbalance. Humans thought that this event was 13 billion years ago, but it happened well before that, perhaps 25 billion years ago. We have the impression that our universe is all that exists, as local information is all we can experience. The strings had no space-time frame or effect on the big nothing. They existed everywhere in the membrane as they were the membrane at the creation event. The membrane set the laws of physics, based on the ripple pattern of the first disturbance and potentials, when matter and antimatter came into being in the 10th dimension. These laws of physics apply in our universe. In the beginning instant of our universe, there was no gravity or light or atoms. Strings evolved to create the first particles due to electromagnetic effects. These string bits clumped together to form atoms like hydrogen in the membrane spacetime. The string particles and atoms continued to interact in the extreme cold. There were a few atoms of helium and even fewer lithium atoms, as matter and energy interacted. Distance is moved by particles, as they clump because of electromagnetism. Time and space is a measure that relates to this movement of the broken string circles and atoms. So, space-time began and passed. There was resultant heat from this first instant of creation, movement and destruction, in our universe. The 9th dimension resulted from the parts that made up the original 10th dimension potentials of this reality. The music of our reality. The energy gradient made the first particle energy potentials try to degrade. Simple systems self-organize because there is feedback that follows the laws of physics in our universe. Chaos created pockets of organized energy available for evolution and degrading, but all started as part of the 10th dimension potential. We are the interpretation of the code written on the surface of our reality membrane in the 10th dimension.
A universe. This process is likely to be repeated. In the Big Nothing, these universes can only be affected by other universes, as the Big Nothing would try nullify them and return them to being nothing. Perhaps all the universes migrate to each other and join together. In the chaos of creation, the first hydrogen suns were formed. They burned out, quickly evolving new elements. The second generation of suns lit up and new elements evolved and were expelled by them.
On molten early Earth, heavy elements sank. Crusts formed and sank. Recycling churned, and hundreds of small planets collided and merged to form the solar system we know. On New Earth, inorganic chemistry dominated at first, creating minerals, ions, simple gases. Carbon compounds stabilized and persisted. Organic chemistry built the frameworks that became the first living patterns. Imagine a 3D box full of little niche boxes. It is a map of all possible chemical experiments happening on early Earth. Each one flickering on and off as changes appeared. Conditions were unique in each box, with different temperature, pressure, radiation, available chemical elements, catalysts, and period of stability in time, and energy sources. Each box cell lights up when conditions allow a reaction. Molecules form, energy flows, and complexity increases. Dots in each box fade when conditions change, reactions collapse, and molecules break apart. This flicker is the heartbeat of early Earth chemistry. The boxes contain different colored points of light. For example, the grey mist box holds dots of light that are proteins, bacteria, mitochondria, and viruses. The boxes sometimes overlap with the yellow mist box that holds amino acids. In this neighborhood of boxes, blue dots appear and disappear. They are the early DNA and RNA patterns. These experiments of matter flicker as a possibility. Most fade, some persist, a few become light. Extremophiles and tardigrades from space experiments on other worlds are added to the grid mix.
Pollution made Earth. The Earth was a molten mass when it was first formed. Chemical climate change was violent. Molten Earth soon had cooler land refuges that floated on the molten planet. In pitch black and airless corners of the planet, different microbes were busy rewriting and advancing the rules of chemistry. The current Earth atmosphere is a product of pollution by past life. Our atmosphere and climate was created by life and their pollution. RNA was the first life. It is the genetic material of many older viruses. Later RNA used DNA to code the structure of proteins synthesized in cells. DNA is the master blueprint for the life we know and constitutes the genetic material in all free living organisms we are involved with. First RNA life polluted the pristine, life-free chemistry of planet Earth. On Earth, certain life can convert toxic materials into less harmful forms or break down pollutants, like radioactive waste. This natural recycling process, called bioremediation, is used to restore polluted sites around the world. By transferring electrons to metal ions, these microbes create new forms of minerals and change the chemistry of their surroundings. Cyanobacteria are probably the most numerous taxon to have ever existed on Earth and the first organisms known to have produced oxygen. Stromatolites exist today in WA. Their photopigments can absorb red and blue sunlight frequencies to split water into hydrogen ions and oxygen. They fed on radiation. Without this action of splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen, we would not have the Earth life we know.
A human 3 million years ago. She stood at the edge of the forest grasslands. She was the same height as the meter-high grass. Her baby was holding on well, but they were both weak from lack of good food usually found by the clever old ones, mostly women, in the group. She had run away from the family group in the forest after the baby's father had died. She knew that the new alpha male would kill the child and eat it, as she had witnessed in the past, when the old leader had died. She could smell a fresh carcass upwind. The kill must have been made by a saber-toothed tiger, and the giant hyenas had not yet come. Both creatures were deadly to her, and it would mean instant death to be found in this long grass. She could not scent tiger or hyena, and there were no sound signals, so she decided to act fast. She put down the baby and headed for the kill smell. As she moved, she saw a hand-sized rock with an edge, and picked it up to cut off what she could from the dead meat. A leg was attached to the deer like animal's bones, so she hit the joint and pulled it away. She was ready to run back to her baby, when she saw the eagle swoop down into the grass, where she had left the little one. She threw the rock at the bird, but missed. It took off as she missed. It was too late to save her baby. She watched the bird carry away the baby to its nest. She retreated into the tree line and decided that she would eat the meat and marrow before returning to her family group. As she ate the cat kill, the cat saliva on the kill entered her bloodstream through a cut in her mouth. The cat virus lodged in her brain and mutated her brain a little. It affected function and changed the way she and her progeny line would think in the next 2 million years. The only opposable thumb. The human ape grips his bone tooth and rock tools. Life evolved. He smashed the tool against the clean deer carcass bones to break open the large leftover bones and eat the marrow. Food gathering is fraught with chance and shortage. But the chemical changes to neural matter, from eating marrow, and their virus absorption, made profound changes to the brain. The human brain evolves as DNA is changed by prions, viruses, and bacteria in the marrow and scavenged food eaten. Further mutated by virus transferred from familiar and later domesticated animals such as cats. We were a combination of human and other DNA or RNA. The grandmother's biology gave a feedback loop that created the genetic blueprint for their daughter's eggs. Those eggs created animals that were different so that they could survive the new environment and food systems that affected the grandmother's DNA. Mammals evolved the fleet of policeman T cells. These were programmed by the flora and fauna and personal DNA of the host and imprinted rules on other killer mitochondrial cells that fought enemy intruders that attempted to join the host, but were deemed a threat. The first wave of humans spread across the world millions of years ago.